Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Today, we are looking at The Diary of River Song Series 10, The Two Rivers and a Firewall, released in August of 2022, directed by Ken Bentley. The Diary of River Song, The Two Rivers and a Firewall stars Alex Kingston as River Song, and let me pull it up real quick. Also features Mimi M. Kaisa, and Harry Peacock. As always, there is a blanket spoiler warning in place. I do these unscripted, so if I do decide to talk about spoilers, this is your only warning. And first of all, sorry, I'm going to be consulting the webpage for this release a lot, and I'm going to explain why right now. First of all, I want to apologize for how late this review is from when The Diary of a Song came out. Basically, long story short, a bunch of IRL stuff happened. First of all, I was in my friend's podcast, Fresh Face Comics. We talked about the Sandman. Link to the YouTube video in an annotation above. But also there was a bunch of personal issues, IRL, that I was dealing with. Nothing serious, everything's fine. I'm back now. Also, because of that, because I was just swamped with issues and stuff, I didn't get my requisite two to three listens that I try to give releases when I review them. So because of that, this release being so late and, me not listening to them like I normally do, this might not be one of my best videos because I am going to try to speed run this as much as possible. So before we go any further, let me look at the listing here. And it is really hard to see with my ring light, even though it helps make everything look kind of better. So, our four stories in this set are The Two Rivers by Tim Foley, Beauty on the Inside by Lizzie Hopley, Black Friday by Lauren Mooney and Stuart Pringle, and Firewall by Barnaby Kay. So, let me just get my broad thoughts out of the way, because I honestly think, again, because I'm going to be speedrunning this, I think I'm mostly going to be talking about my thoughts on the box set as a whole. Series 10's biggest, or no, let me backtrack a little bit. Series 10 is a mid-tier box set for this range. If I were to break them down and do a tier maker, which I'm not going to do anything crazy, if you've seen tier maker and seen how it can be edited, top tier would be like Series 2, Series 3, Series 5, and Series 6. Mid-tier would be Series 4, Series 9, and Series 10. And then bottom tier would be Series 1 and Series 8. So anyway, the biggest problem with Series 10 is that there's no theme to it. There's no narrative to it. I've talked about this before in every other single Diary of River Song release, so I'm going to repeat it here. Prior to this, the Diary of River Song did box sets in one of two ways. Series 1 through 4 were all narrative box sets, as I call them. That means the four stories in the set made up a bigger story arc. They made up a bigger narrative. Kind of like Series 1 through 9 of New Who. There were the individual episodes doing their own thing, but they each contributed to a larger story arc at play. And then after that, from Series 5 onward, they were all thematic. Basically, each series from Series 5 to Series 9 to Series 8 was an anthology. Each story existed in isolation from each other, but they were all connected by a common theme. Series 5 was River facing different incarnations of the Master. Series 6 was River adventuring in the background of a classic Who story. So like one story was a prequel to An Unearthly Child. While one story was happening, the Carnival of Monsters was happening in the background. Things like that. Series 7 was a play on different mystery genres, like the wintry Scandi noir, the legal farce, classic American-style film noir, cozy mysteries, that kind of thing. Series 8 was River and robots. Each story in that set had River, facing different kind of robots. A returning robot character from an earlier series, K9, the Mechanoids, that kind of thing. And then Series 9, really weird thinking back on it, kind of tried to be both. The theme was River had joined UNIT in the 70s or 80s. Around the time the Third Doctor was serving as their scientific advisor, she teamed up with Liz Shaw and the Brigadier. And there was a greater arc at play, but the stories didn't connect. They didn't build up. Like I said, Series 9 both tried to be narrative and thematic at the same time. And that was a bit of a tangent, but that gets to the point I was saying. Series 10 has none of that. There is no cohesion to these stories. Like, again, Series 10 is called, or subtitled, The Two Rivers and a Firewall. The Two Rivers is the name of the first story. Firewall is the name of the last story. In that title, there is no reference to the other two stories. None of the stories have any kind of other themes dealing with, like, multiple rivers or firewalls or anything like that. The closest we get is that the cover art for this box set visually represents the third story. And that is this box set's big weak point across the board. Because that lack of cohesion, I feel, also leads to a lack of memorability. Memorability. Like, I don't think this set will be as remembered because, it doesn't really stand out the way the others did. If I were to rank these stories, I would say Beauty on the Inside for me was the weakest. The middle two are kind of a tie. I keep going back and forth, but I think right now I'm going to say after Beauty on the Inside, it's Firewall, and then Black Friday, and The Two Rivers is my favorite. Beauty on the Inside is one that honestly really needed so much more time. So the story opens, and I'm probably going to talk about these out of order because Beauty on the Inside was the second story of the set. The story opens with River trying to acquire a painting of a royal family of a distant planet. Because, for whatever reason, acquiring this painting led to a colleague of hers being murdered. So she's trying to get to the bottom of what this painting is, what it represents, and the story gets really weird. Like, she arrives on this pacifist planet. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember this one at all. Like, that's what that's part of why it's so weak. It was just, for me, it was in one ear, out the other. Like, the story references Frankenstein a lot. That's the big thing I'm remembering from it. Like, this royal family that River is looking into, apparently this painting is several centuries old, and by the time River meets them, they haven't changed or aged at all, so she's trying to figure out why. And then she learns their advisor is this scientist that's found a way to kind of keep them alive. That's all I'm really going to say. The last act is really good when we finally start peeling away the layers of this mystery and solving it. There are some really good twists that I won't spoil, but yeah, getting to that point is such a slog. This story just has no impact. And then there's Firewall. Initially in the early promotional material for Series 10, when Series 10 was first announced, this was the big selling point, This is really the first major River story post Forest of the Dead. No, she did play a major role in Name of the Doctor, and that was post Forest of the Dead. But basically, after her death, this story is about River's digital life in the library computer from the library two-parter. And something is going wrong. Like, her memories are being rewritten. She now thinks she is the mother of... Oh, shoot, I just had her name and lost it. The child character from Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. who basically is the library computer. River now thinks she's her mother, and she thinks proper Dave, I almost called him Other Dave, and that wasn't right, also from that story, is her husband. And there's an external influence who somehow learned about the library and wants to hack into it and delete River as a means of revenge for something the Doctor did to him. This story is really trippy in kind of that way that Big Finish was in the early days of Doctor Who with their more experimental stuff. Well, it doesn't quite go that far, but it's playing along those lines, and that is one of the strengths of this story. Also, the performances, Alex Kingston and Harry Peacock, and the actress now playing the girl. Shoot, it is going to annoy me that I do not remember her name. She is filling in for the original actress who played her in in the Library, Forest of the Dead, because said actress has aged out, and she does wonderfully at recreating that role. Black Friday is really fun. Like, it doesn't have any deep themes like Firewall or Beauty on the Inside, or even The Two Rivers, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's just a fun, adventurous romp, which I really like. Well, no, I suppose there is a sort of commentary on it about the slow death of the Mega Mall. But yeah, River finds herself invited to this big sale on a planet-wide Mega Mall. Only as she quickly finds out, it's kind of a trap. Because, as I mentioned, this story is alluded to on the cover, the Autons are there. And I find their use in this story really interesting because, barring their appearance in... No, I'm going to rephrase that. The Autons in this story pretty much play on the rules that establish them. They were established on operating in Spearhead from space. So the later developments and additions that were added to them in, say, Terror of the Autons or Rose, kind of, now that I think about it, they don't really come into play here. They operate solely on their physics and abilities as established in Terror of the Autons, which means they don't talk. And I found that really interesting. It's probably why there's only ever been one other Auton audio on Big Finish, an Eighth Doctor one that I've never heard, but because, how do you do a monster that doesn't talk? Big Finish in the past has come up with some really good ways of using it, with the Weeping Angels and the Vashta Nerada. Granted, they just use a sound cue, but they are still effectively used. And that's the case here. The Autons have a minimal presence, but they are built up really well, and like the few scenes they do appear on are actually really effective for the audio medium. River also finds out she's not alone, and there seems to be another customer trapped in this store with her. The writers for this story mentioned alluded to a reference River makes in another episode. I think it was the Pandorica Opens. I don't remember, but it's like a line she says to Rory or someone, and that's what this entire plot is built around. So there is also a really obvious twist with this side character, which causes me to kind of retract my earlier statement about the Autons operating on Spearhead from space rules, because they do something with this character that that Russell T Davies introduced to the Autons in Rose, and that's the only hint you're getting. But River and this other character do have a really good chemistry, and this story is eventually a two-hander that relies on them performing together, and it's wonderful. And like I said, it's really fun. There is also a computer character who is a delight. Like, I've said this before in stories like this, I love when they give robot characters a personality, because I just feel like bland, static, monotone robot is really generic. So I always like when people find ways to work around that, and this is another story that does that wonderfully. So we're gonna end on the two rivers. My favorite story in this set, and the opener. And what a strong opener it is. So River is leading an archaeology expedition, or no, she's posing as the benefactor, the person funding this expedition, to discover the tomb of River Song. Because obviously this is set before her trip to the library, so she's still alive, so it can't be her, right? Well, it is. And this is kind of the Diary of River Song's play on multi-doctor stories by featuring multiple rivers, but it's done really creatively. And final warning, because I feel like this is the story I'm going to talk the most about spoilers, because even though I heard this set once, this story is the most memorable for me. So, this is a river from another universe. And in this universe, River had a very different approach. She went on a very different path from the one our River follows. She killed the Doctor. I don't believe at Lake Silencio. She killed him at Demon's Run. And because obviously that happened, this River never gave her Doctor her regenerations. Which means not only is this a river from an alternate universe, it's a river who has the ability to regenerate. In fact, this river is several regenerations after what Alex Kingston would have been. And hang on, I gotta pull up the web page again because I already forgot the actress's name. Come on, open. Mimi M. Kaisa is really wonderful. She is kind of the highlight in this story for me. Her rapport and her chemistry with Alex Kingston is brilliant. Alex Kingston is great as always. But beyond that, hang on, I'm getting back to recording. But beyond that, this alternate universe River goes on a very different arc. In the past, I've talked about how I like when River goes bloodthirsty, because I mentioned that although her and the Doctor align morally, River operates on a very different set of ethics. She's not afraid to kill when she needs to. She will resort to underhanded tactics. And this alternate universe River, she has no sense of morality whatsoever. She's much more bloodthirsty. In fact, the events that brought her to the main universe... Spoilers! I forgot to mute my phone, and that is annoying. I'm not editing that out. But the thing that brought this alternate universe River to this universe is that she was escaping a species that lives in the vortex. I'm going to ghost over that really fast. But then she decides she's going to escape back into her universe, leaving this species behind, trapped in the main universe. But then something happens. The archaeologist that was leading this expedition to the Tomb of River Song. As the story goes on, they find that their timelines are inexplicably linked. So, this species possessed one of her students. So they have to go back to find out when that happened. And when they do, the two rivers realize that they met this archaeologist at an earlier point in her life. And as they keep going back, this alternate universe River begins to develop feelings. Like I said, she's been cold and unfeeling, willing to sell out people, very, very cold-hearted all of her life because she did not have the experience our River has. But she has to... So she's never formed bonds is basically what I'm getting to. But as they travel back along this person's time stream, going earlier and earlier in their life, she begins to bond with this person. The first time she's ever done anything for anything like that. And Kaisa plays it beautifully. And Alex Kingston, as our River watching this, also plays it wonderfully as well. Because the two rivers can't stand each other, much like multi-doctors in a multi-doctor story. And, until the end when they have to get along. But, yeah, no, it's... Like I said, it's a mid-tier box set, probably a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. Some good stories. Black Friday and the Two Rivers are really good. Firewall has really good moments. I enjoyed it. Beauty on the Inside, I didn't care for at all. But yeah, like I said, because it has no narrative theme or nope, there is no or because it has no narrative theme. The Diary of River Song Series 10 just does not have a lot going for it. And thus far, while it has great moments and decent stories, it's just not all that memorable. But those are just my thoughts. Have you heard The Diary of River Song Series 10, The Two Rivers and a Firewall? If so, what are your thoughts? Please start a conversation in the comment below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. And in the description box below, you'll find a link to my Twitter where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.